quiet suburban neighborhood, nestled between rows of identical houses, stood the old Grayson home, long abandoned and overgrown with ivy. Its reputation was grim. The locals claimed it was cursed, a place where darkness thrived. Yet, for two adventurous friends, Kelvin and Adam, it became a challenge they couldn't resist. One crisp October evening, the two friends, fueled by bravado and the thrill of a good scare, decided to explore the Grayson home. Armed with flashlights, they approached the front door, which creaked open as if inviting them into its shadowy depths. The air inside was stale, heavy with dust and the scent of decay. The boys exchanged nervous glances but pressed on, eager to explore. "Let's check out the basement," Adam suggested, excitement lacing his voice. Kelvin hesitated, but the pull of adventure outweighed his instincts. They found the staircase leading down to the basement, a dark gash in the floor. With each step down, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew cooler, the silence thickened. Kelvin shone his flashlight around, revealing peeling paint and the remnants of old furniture cloaked in shadows. "Creepy down here," Kelvin muttered, unease creeping into his voice. "Yeah, but that's what makes it fun," Adam replied, grinning. They moved further in, the beam of their flashlights dancing across the walls, revealing old tools, broken furniture, and cobwebs that hung like veils. As they explored, they stumbled upon a large, heavy door at the far end of the basement. It was slightly ajar, an eerie sliver of darkness beckoning them closer. "Should we?" Kelvin asked, a knot tightening in his stomach. "Absolutely," Adam said, pushing the door open wider. It creaked ominously, revealing a small, dimly lit room. A single flickering bulb hung from the ceiling, casting long shadows across the walls. In the center of the room stood a wooden table, and on it lay a tattered journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. Adam rushed forward, curiosity piqued. "Check this out," he exclaimed, flipping it open. The handwriting was erratic, filled with frantic notes and sketches of grotesque creatures. "It's like a diary of someone losing their mind." Kelvin leaned in closer, shivering at the strange drawings. "Dude, this is weird. We should go." "Just a little longer," Adam insisted, already engrossed in the text. He read aloud, "The shadows have eyes. They watch, they wait. The basement is alive." A chill ran down Kelvin's spine. "Let's just get out of here." Ignoring his friend, Adam continued reading. "I can hear them whispering. They want me to join them." His voice trailed off, and he frowned at the next page. "What the hell? It says here that they took his brother." "Who?" Kelvin asked, unease boiling into fear. "The guy who wrote this." "It says they took him in the basement," Adam replied, his tone suddenly serious. Suddenly, the temperature dropped further, and Kelvin felt a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. "Adam, we need to leave, now." As if summoned by his words, a low, guttural sound echoed through the basement, reverberating off the walls. Kelvin's heart raced. "Did you hear that?" Adam nodded, eyes wide. "We should go." They turned to leave, but the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Panic surged through them as they yanked on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. "Help, let us out," Kelvin shouted, but the basement swallowed his voice. The shadows in the room thickened, coiling around them like a living entity. The flickering bulb overhead sputtered and died, plunging them into darkness. "Kelvin," Adam whispered, fear creeping into his voice. "Yeah, I'm here," Kelvin replied, trying to mask his terror. Then they heard it again, the whispering. It surrounded them, slithering through the air like smoke. "Join us, join us," the words echoed, chilling them to the bone. "Get away from me," Adam yelled, his flashlight beam shaking as it illuminated the corners of the room. For a moment, they saw shapes moving within the darkness, figures that loomed and twisted, their features indistinguishable. Desperate, Kelvin pounded on the door. "Let us out, please." The whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Join us, forever." Adam stumbled back, tripping over the journal on the table. As he hit the ground, the journal slid open, revealing a drawing of a gaping maw filled with jagged teeth. A chilling realization washed over them. The darkness was alive, and it was hungry. "Kelvin, we need to find another way out," Adam shouted, scrambling to his feet. They turned back toward the room, looking for an escape. The shadows twisted around them, threatening to swallow them whole. Just then, a light flickered back to life, a small window high above the ground. "Up there." Kelvin pointed, and they both jumped toward the wall, scrambling to find something to climb on. Adam managed to hoist himself up on an old crate, reaching for the window. "I can't hold it much longer," Adam strained as he pushed against the window frame. Kelvin grabbed onto his legs, the shadows creeping closer, wrapping around his ankles like icy chains. "Come on, Adam, hurry," Kelvin yelled, terror clawing at his throat. With one final push, Adam managed to shove the window open. "I'm through, grab my hand." Kelvin reached up, feeling Adam's hand slip through the opening. But just as their fingers touched, a shadow lunged from the darkness, wrapping around Adam's waist. "No!" Kelvin screamed, pulling with all his might. But the darkness was too strong. It yanked Adam back into the abyss, his screams echoing in Kelvin's ears. "Adam!" Kelvin cried, desperation flooding him. But there was no answer, only the whispering shadows closing in around him. With a final surge of adrenaline, Kelvin found the strength to leap toward the window. He climbed onto the crate and pushed himself up, squeezing through the opening just as the shadows clawed at his heels. He tumbled onto the ground outside, gasping for breath. The cool night air filled his lungs, but it did little to ease the dread gnawing at him. He turned back to the house, its windows dark and foreboding. "Adam," he called, but only silence answered. In the days that followed, Kelvin tried to explain what happened, but no one believed him. The town was quick to dismiss his story, chalking it up to a wild imagination. The Grayson home remained, standing silent and still, a beacon of dread, but every night, as Kelvin lay in bed, he could still hear the whispers. The shadows had claimed Adam, and they were hungry for more. In his dreams, he saw his friend, trapped in darkness, his eyes wide with fear, beckoning him to join. And he knew that deep down, the shadows of the basement had not finished with him yet. Alina and Leonardo had been friends since childhood, their bond forged through years of shared secrets and adventures. When Alina's family moved into the old Carter house at the edge of town, it felt like the perfect opportunity for a new adventure. The house was massive and somewhat dilapidated, with a sprawling yard and, most importantly, a mysterious basement that seemed to whisper of hidden stories. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled in the distance, the two friends decided to explore the basement. Armed with flashlights and a sense of mischief, they descended the creaking stairs. The air grew cooler with each step, and the faint smell of mold and damp wood greeted them as they reached the bottom. "Ugh, it smells like something died down here," Alina remarked, wrinkling her nose. Leonardo chuckled. "Maybe it did. Let's see what treasures we can find." The basement was a treasure trove of forgotten relics, old furniture, boxes of dusty books, and broken appliances. Alina shone her flashlight around, illuminating the cobwebs that hung like drapes in the corners. "Look at this," Leonardo exclaimed, pulling a tarnished mirror from behind a pile of old crates. The glass was cracked, and the frame was covered in dust, but it still held an air of intrigue. Alina examined it closely. "It's kind of creepy. I wonder who it belonged to." As they explored further, they found a door tucked away in a corner, partially hidden by a stack of old magazines. "Do you think it leads somewhere?" Leonardo asked, excitement dancing in his eyes. "Only one way to find out," Alina replied, her curiosity piqued. They pushed the door open, and it creaked ominously, revealing a small, dark room beyond. The air felt different in there, thicker, almost charged with an unseen energy. Inside, they found more boxes, but these were locked. "Do you think there's something valuable inside?" Leonardo wondered, running his fingers along the boxes. "Let's see if we can find a way to open them," Alina suggested, scanning the room for anything that could help. As they rummaged through the clutter, they found a rusty crowbar. "This should do the trick," Leonardo said, grinning. They worked together to pry open the first box, and the lid finally gave way with a loud crack. Inside, they found old photographs, faded and yellowing, depicting the Carter family throughout the years. But as they sifted through the images, something strange caught Alina's eye, a shadowy figure lurking in the background of one photo, watching the family. "Leonardo, look at this," she said, holding the photo up to the light. Leonardo squinted at it, a chill running down his spine. "What is that? It looks wrong." "Maybe it's just a trick of the light," Alina said, though she felt a shiver of unease. They moved to the next box, but as they pried it open, a loud bang echoed through the basement, making them both jump. The door they had come through slammed shut, plunging them into darkness. "Great, now we're trapped," Alina said, her voice tinged with panic. "Stay calm. It's just a heavy door," Leonardo replied, but he felt a knot of fear tightening in his stomach. They turned their flashlights toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. "What do we do?" Alina asked, her voice trembling. Leonardo felt a surge of frustration. "We'll just have to find another way out. There has to be a window or something." As they searched the room, Alina began to feel an overwhelming sense of dread. The shadows seemed to stretch and twist around them, as if alive. She glanced at the mirror Leonardo had found earlier, and her breath caught in her throat. The surface of the mirror rippled, distorting their reflections. Suddenly, the shadowy figure from the photograph materialized behind them in the glass, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Leonardo, look!" Alina screamed, pointing at the mirror. He turned just in time to see the figure vanish. "What was that?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I don't know, but I don't like it," Alina replied, her heart racing. They continued to search for an escape, but the shadows seemed to close in on them, the air growing colder with each passing moment. Alina felt as if they were being watched, an unseen presence lurking just out of sight. "Do you think this basement is haunted?" she asked, half joking, trying to lighten the mood. "Maybe," Leonardo said, though his face was pale. "But we need to focus on getting out." As they rummaged through the boxes, Alina stumbled upon an old journal, its leather cover cracked and worn. She opened it, revealing pages filled with frantic scrawlings and drawings of grotesque creatures. "Look at this," she said, showing it to Leonardo. "It's like the guy was losing his mind." "Maybe he was," Leonardo replied, flipping through the pages. "This doesn't feel right. We need to leave now." Just then, they heard a low growl reverberate through the basement, shaking the very walls. Alina and Leonardo exchanged terrified glances. "What was that?" Alina whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know, but we need to get out," Leonardo shouted, pushing against the door again, but it remained stubbornly shut. The growling grew louder, closer, and the shadows began to shift, coiling around their feet like living tendrils. Alina's heart raced as she felt the cold grip of fear close around her. "Can you see anything?" she asked, trying to peer into the darkness. "No, it's too dark. We have to find a way to break this door down," Leonardo said, panic rising in his voice. As they struggled, the growling intensified, and suddenly, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the small room. But the momentary relief was short-lived. In the corner, the shadowy figure reappeared, this time more defined, its face twisted into a grotesque grin. "Join us," it whispered, its voice a chilling echo that sent shivers down their spines. Alina screamed and grabbed Leonardo's arm, pulling him back. "We have to go." In a frenzy, they rushed toward the mirror, hoping it might provide a way out. As they approached, they saw their own reflections, but behind them, the figure loomed, its eyes glowing with malevolence. "Get back," Leonardo shouted, pushing Alina toward the mirror. "We have to break it." With all their strength, they slammed the crowbar against the mirror's surface. It cracked but held firm. The figure's grin widened, and the growling became a roar, echoing through the basement. "Do it again," Alina urged, fear driving her actions. With a determined swing, Leonardo struck the mirror again. This time, it shattered, sending shards flying in every direction. As the glass broke, the figure let out a bone-chilling scream, its form dissipating into wisps of shadow. "Run!" Leonardo yelled, and they bolted for the door, which swung open effortlessly, as if the house itself were eager to rid itself of them. They stumbled out of the basement, breathless and terrified. The sunlight felt like a blessing as they burst through the front door, but the sense of relief was short-lived. The shadows that had once trapped them seemed to cling to their backs, whispering promises of darkness. "I can't believe we made it out," Alina panted, her heart still racing. "Yeah, but what was that thing?" Leonardo asked, shaking. They glanced back at the house, its windows dark and uninviting. "I don't know, but I don't ever want to find out again," Alina replied, shuddering at the memory. As they walked away, the shadows flickered in the corners of their vision, whispering secrets meant for their ears alone. And though they were free for now, they both knew that the echoes of the basement would haunt them forever, a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. Cedric had always been fascinated by the stories that surrounded the old Miller house at the end of his street. Abandoned for years, the house was rumored to be haunted, a place where shadows danced in the corners and whispers filled the air. When his friends dared him to spend a night inside, he couldn't resist the challenge. On a chilly autumn evening, Cedric gathered his supplies of flashlight, a couple of snacks, and his trusty old journal to document the experience. He approached the house, its silhouette looming ominously against the fading light. The front door creaked open at his touch, revealing a dark, musty interior. Cedric stepped inside, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The air was thick with dust, and the faint smell of mildew hung in the air. He turned on his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating the remnants of a life once lived. Faded photographs, broken furniture, and layers of dust that had settled like a shroud. As he explored the ground floor, he felt the weight of silence pressing down on him. Every creak of the floorboards echoed, reminding him of how alone he truly was. But the basement beckoned to him, a dark abyss waiting to be explored. He hesitated for a moment, recalling the local legends, the tales of people who had ventured into the basement and never returned. But curiosity overcame fear, and he made his way to the stairs leading down. The wooden steps creaked under his weight, and the air grew colder with each step. Reaching the bottom, he shone his flashlight around the dimly lit space. The basement was a cavernous room filled with old boxes, furniture draped in sheets, and a sense of foreboding that clung to the air. In the far corner, he spotted a heavy wooden door, slightly ajar. Something compelled him to approach it, an inexplicable pull that urged him to see what lay beyond. As he pushed the door open, it creaked loudly, revealing a smaller, darker room filled with even more dust and decay. Inside, he found an old trunk sitting on the floor, its leather surface cracked and weathered. Intrigued, he knelt down to examine it. "What secrets do you hold?" he murmured to himself, the thrill of discovery coursing through him. With effort, he managed to pry the trunk open. Inside were various items, tattered clothing, a faded diary, and a collection of photographs depicting a family that once lived there. But something else caught his eye: a small, intricately carved wooden box tucked beneath the clothes. As he pulled it out, he felt a strange warmth emanating from it, a stark contrast to the chill of the basement. He opened the box to find a delicate locket, its surface adorned with intricate designs. Curious, he took it out and held it in his palm, feeling a strange connection to it. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room, and Cedric shivered. The basement grew darker, the shadows deepening around him. He dismissed it as his imagination, but a sense of unease settled in his gut. "Maybe I should head back up," he thought, glancing toward the staircase. But before he could move, a soft whisper echoed through the room. "Cedric." He froze, his heart pounding in his chest. "Who's there?" he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. The whispering grew louder, swirling around him, and he could make out fragmented words. "Help us, find us." Panic surged within him. He grabbed the locket and hurried to the door, but it slammed shut, trapping him in darkness. Cedric pounded on the door, desperation rising. "Let me out, please." The whispers morphed into cries, anguished and pleading. The shadows shifted, and Cedric felt a presence moving around him. "You need to help us. We're lost." As fear gripped him, he turned back to the trunk, searching for answers. He riffled through the items, desperate to understand what was happening. The diary caught his attention, its pages filled with frantic scribbles detailing the family's descent into madness. They had discovered something in the basement, something that had consumed them. "Find the locket," he read aloud, the words sending chills down his spine. "It holds the key to our release." Cedric clutched the locket tightly, his mind racing. "What do you mean? How do I help you?" He shouted into the darkness, but the shadows only grew thicker. Suddenly, the basement lights flickered back to life, illuminating the room in a harsh glare. In the corner, Cedric saw them, figures cloaked in shadow, their faces obscured but their eyes glowing with desperation. They reached out toward him, their mouths moving in silent screams. "Please, Cedric, help us." Terrified, he stumbled backward, the locket slipping from his grasp. It hit the ground and rolled toward the shadows. Instinctively, he lunged to retrieve it, but as he touched it, a surge of energy coursed through him. The shadows recoiled, and the figures began to materialize, their forms becoming clearer. They were the family from the photograph strap, lost souls begging for release. "You must make a choice," one of them whispered, her voice filled with sorrow. "The locket binds us to this place. You can either set us free or become one of us." Cedric felt the weight of their gaze, the pressure of their choice heavy in the air. I don't want to be trapped," he cried out. "Then you must release us," the father figure pleaded, his voice filled with anguish. "Break the locket." Cedric's heart raced as he realized what he had to do. Summoning all his courage, he took the locket and, with a determined swing, smashed it against the corner of the trunk. The sound echoed like thunder in the small room. The moment it shattered, a blinding light filled the basement, pushing back the shadows and engulfing the figures. They gasped, their faces transforming from despair to relief. "Thank you, thank you," they chorused, their voices harmonizing as the light swallowed them whole. As the last remnants of the shadows dissipated, the door creaked open, and the oppressive weight lifted from the room. Cedric stumbled back, breathless and shaken. The basement was still, the air lighter, free of the anguish that had permeated it moments before. He climbed the stairs, emerging into the main part of the house, and stepped outside into the cool night air. The moonlight bathed the world in silver, and for the first time, he felt a sense of peace. But as he walked away from the Miller house, he glanced back one last time. The windows glimmered faintly, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he saw a figure standing in the shadows, a grateful smile on its lips. Cedric shivered, but he knew he had done the right thing. The basement might have been a place of darkness, but it was also a space of redemption, a reminder that sometimes, even the most haunted places can find peace. Alright everyone, that brings us to the end of our story. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you have similar stories you'd like to share with us, feel free to reach out. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.